Welcome to the Tokyo Ghoul Iceberg. This iceberg was created by Reddit user Eggs with Benefits. We're going to break it down layer by layer from surface level to the deepest entries that most fans may have missed. Let's get into it. Layer 1. Kaneki. Heisei meme. For a while, Kaneki became the profile picture for depressed anime fans. Anytime someone was going through heartbreak, depression, or some sort of existential crisis, suddenly their PFP was made white-haired Kaneki. Eventually the meme got so popular that people started clowning on it nonstop with edits and parody posts. Unravel by Animens. Animens' cover of Unravel basically took over for a while. If you've never heard it, you have to go listen to it right now. It was insanely famous for a reason. Tokyo Ghoul is a seinen. A lot of people still mislabel Tokyo Ghoul as a shonen because of the anime, but the manga itself is very clearly seinen. The anime toned down a lot of the psychological horror and made it feel more like a standard battle series. Heisei Sasaki is Ken Kaneki. This feels obvious now, but when Ri first dropped, people genuinely didn't know what was going on. Heisei felt like a completely new character, especially after Kaneki's death at the end of the original series. Even when Ri was airing as the anime, the confusion came back because of the anime-only viewers not reading the manga. Many horror references of Tokyo Ghoul. The series is packed with horror influences. Jason from Friday the 13th is the obvious one, especially with the mask. You also see Frankenstein parallels pretty heavily, with Kaneki framed as the monster, with the real monster, of course, being Dr. Kano. Route A is not canon. This is pretty well known now, but Route A basically diverges from the manga entirely. It's its own storyline, and it isn't followed in later canon. If you've only seen the anime, the manga is a completely different experience, and you need to go read it front to back, but if you must, at least that section of the story. Ishida Face Mystery. Ishida is one of those manga who likes to stay invisible. The closest thing we have to a face reveal was a picture from a Sound Chronicle book, but nothing has ever been confirmed. In the picture you can see them writing on their drawing tablet and facing a window, where we get a little bit of a better look, but nothing concrete. Tokyo Ghoul is an analogy for racism. At its core, Tokyo Ghoul is heavily about discrimination. Ghouls are hunted down just for existing, even when they haven't done anything wrong. That constant fear and dehumanization is one of the central themes of the entire story, and keeps getting reiterated every evolution that happens all the way up to the Sunlit Garden. Layer 2. Ghoul. 143 chapters equals 1000 minus 7. One of the most famous bits of Tokyo Ghoul trivia is the 1000 minus 7 line. Fans notice something weird though. If you take 1000 and divide it by 7, you get 143, which just so happens to match the total number of chapters. On top of that, chapter 72 is titled Halfway, which lands almost exactly at the midpoint of the story. So it was obvious this was intended from the start. 103 Bones. This refers to the infamous 103 Bones moment, referring to a manga scene where Kaneki breaks half of Ayato's bones. The anime cuts this entirely, but in the manga it's one of the first times we see Kaneki's strength used in a much more brutal and unrestrained way. It also mirrors how far he's fallen from his earlier self and may reflect the torture that was inflicted on himself. Literature references. There are many references to famous literature in the series, since Kaneki loves books. There are many, but I'll only list a few. Franz Kafka, Metamorphosis. Chapter 2 references metamorphosis, when a man wakes up one morning, transformed into an insect with no explanation as to why. There's Crossbreed, which is a reference early in Ri. This short story is about a man who inherits a pet who is half lamb and half kitten. It can be taken as a reflection on Arima and Heisei's relationship, or just on Arima themselves as a crossbreed. C.S. Lewis, The Screwtape Letters. In chapter 124 of original Tokyo Ghoul, Kaneki is reading The Screwtape Letters. This book has a demon protagonist, who near the end turns into a giant centipede, sort of like Kaneki. Ernest Hemingway's The Old Man in the Sea. In the abandoned mansion above Kano's lab, Kaneki pulls out The Old Man in the Sea. The story is about an old fisherman who is down on his luck and hasn't had any catches in years. He ends up catching a great marlin, but after 3 days, sharks come after his prize. This seems to be an intentional allegory for what happens during this arc, where we have multiple forces coming at the same objective, Rise, which through all of Kaneki's hard work leaves him empty-handed again. Tarot cards. The manga uses tarot card-like symbolism in its numbering and characters' framing. Kaneki is often associated with the number 12, while Juzo connects heavily to 13, which is traditionally linked to death. Whether intentional or not, fans have long tied these patterns into character arcs and roles. Spider lilies. Flowers are a major visual symbol in the anime and manga. White flowers often represent innocence, while the red spider lilies are associated with death. During Kaneki's torture and transformation, this contrast reflects his shift from human into a ghoul. Tokyo Ghoul bonus illustrations. Tokyo Ghoul has had a lot of exclusive bonus artwork released with Japanese volumes, especially in Re. Some of these were even region-specific or limited edition, like a German exclusive card. A lot of them are now extremely rare and expensive, which is why collectors treat them as like a hidden piece of the series. Parasite inspiration. Some fans draw comparisons between Tokyo Ghoul and Parasite, since both deal with human-monster coexistence and identity themes. While there's no confirmed inspiration link, Ishida has more often cited Kafka's Metamorphosis as the major influence instead of this. Marie Antoinette syndrome. Kaneki's hair turning white is sometimes explained through Marie Antoinette syndrome, where extreme stress ends up causing rapid hair whitening. In-universe, though, it's more likely tied to RC cell changes, making it both symbolic and biological, depending on your interpretation. Kaneki's lying habit. There are small behavioral tells in the series. Kaneki is often shown touching his chin when he's lying or hiding something, a habit people think he may have got from his mother. Other characters have their own tells, like Hide scratching his chin, or Mutsuki gripping her arm when stressed. Metamorphosis. Circling back again, Metamorphosis by Kafka isn't just a reference. It's basically a structural influence on Tokyo Ghoul as a whole, reinforcing the idea of identity loss and becoming something unrecognizable from your past self. Layer 3. Aogiri Tree. Banned in China. Tokyo Ghoul was reportedly banned in China after concerns that fans were mimicking Juzo's stitched body markings. It sparked real-world imitation trends at the time, which pushed Chinese authorities to step in. Kaneki has DID. There are fan discussions around Kaneki potentially showing traits of dissociative identity disorder. This is often linked to his trauma, especially early childhood abuse and the psychological breakdown he experiences throughout the story, like his torture. Chapter 1 Remake. On Tokyo Ghoul's 5th anniversary, Ishida redrew Chapter 1. It's not just a cosmetic update either. The characters feel more aligned with their later designs, almost like a visual bridge between the original story and how it eventually evolved. The Fool's Journey. One of the deeper symbolic readings of Tokyo Ghoul is its connection to the Fool's Journey in Tarot. Kaneki can be interpreted as the Fool, starting at 0, while characters like Hide and Toka represent early stages of guidance and awakening, 1 and 2. The idea is that Kaneki's journey mirrors a structured psychological and spiritual progress through the numbers. One-shot. Before Tokyo Ghoul became what we know, the original one-shot version was very different. Kaneki was actually a full ghoul, and the dynamics were flipped in interesting ways. Some characters, like Marude and Shinohara, show early conceptual forms here, being combined into one character, and even the tone feels more experimental and less refined compared to the final series. Inspired by Nier Automata. Fans have drawn parallels between Tokyo Ghoul and Nier, especially in terms of existential themes, identity questioning. Both works explore what it means to be a human and systems that strip away individuality, although any direct influence is more speculative than confirmed. We also have similar character designs with a lot of the characters. Ending foreshadowed. There's a popular interpretation that Kaneki's drawing of what he thinks is a ghoul ends up foreshadowing the dragon form later in the series. Whether intentional or not, it feels like his subconscious version of a monstrosity becomes reality later on, possibly in his dragon form, summoning what he imagines a ghoul was, at least, in his past. Ontaku is real. Ontaku itself has real-world inspiration. Ishida reportedly visited this cafe that inspired it and even left artwork on its guestbook. The real location has since changed and been closed, but its connection to the series remains a well-known piece of trivia. Hisoka spin-off. Ishida was a massive fan of Togashi. The project was originally an April Fool's hoax. There was an announcement posted by Ishida on his Twitter back in 2015 before being released on the Shonen Jump, as well as the website. The release was accompanied by an interview between Ishida and Togashi. If you're a Hunter x Hunter fan and a Tokyo Ghoul fan, this is a must-read. It's very interesting to see Hisoka and a few other characters drawn in the Tokyo Ghoul-esque style of Ishida. Kagune are sentient. This is a fan theory that Kakune and Quinke might have some form of self-awareness. Most interpretations treat them as biological RC cell structures, but others speculate that they might actually carry something closer to instinct, or maybe even consciousness. Ishida death threats. This one's really sad and is way too common when someone writes something so well that people get dearly attached. After chapter 125 of Tokyo Ghoul leaked online with the reveal that Kaneki and Toka slept together, a group of the fanbase went wild, claiming Ishida's homophobic, all kinds of different things. It's sadly too common from shippers these days. Arita is still alive. This is a very plausible theory that Arita is still alive and being harvested continuously, making all the different Arita armors. We can see the same things being done with Rize and Yoshimura, so it's for sure possible that the Washus could be doing something like this even without Dr. Kano directly helping them. Route A, original draft by Ishida. This was an alternative timeline closer to the anime's Route A, but it was still declined. Even though it's still far from the manga, it still shows a better side of Kaneki, not edgy Kaneki. He still seems to be smiling and has the intention to actually destroy Aogiri from the inside, not just using them to get stronger, like in the anime. Layer 4. The Owl. Shirazu's body. There was a plot point where Kano took Shirazu's body. Many fans believed he would be brought back into the story in some way, although nothing ever really came of it other than the obvious studying of the frames, which was why the body was taken in the first place. Many people think this may have been cut for time or was just never really the original intention in the first place. Ishida worked with Togashi. This is a common misconception that Ishida actually directly worked with or under Togashi. This isn't the case. What's true is much simpler. Ishida has openly expressed admiration for Togashi as a creator, but any collaboration claims comes from out-of-context posts or fan interpretation and mistranslations. V14, based off Tokyo underground tunnels. V14 is another example of Tokyo Ghoul drawing from real world. The location is inspired by Tokyo Ghoul's underground tunnel systems. The result is almost something liminal. like a place that shouldn't even exist, but obviously it does. It gives these scenes a very specific kind of unease that's very hard to replicate. School of the Ghoul. This is a silly, short parody comic in which all the characters are high schoolers. It's a very quick read, and you should just do it if you're a fan of the series. It's nothing official, just for fun. Ishida, Depression. This is an afterword in which he reflects on the series. I'm including here just a small section of the entire thing, which I will read to you, but please go read the full thing to get into the head of how he was feeling at the time. It's beautiful, almost poetic, but very disheartening. I've already handed in the final manuscript, and I'm now writing this letter. I would have written 4 commas at the end of the volume as usual, but I had a hard time writing what comes after in such a format, so I thought that I would write an afterword instead. Preface. Tokyo Ghoul began its serialization in September of 2011. 7 years has passed since then. My life has revolved around chasing the deadline, week after week. I felt that if I took a break, I wouldn't have been able to bring myself to draw again, so I refused to give myself a break. Now that the series has ended, I'm finally living a life where I haven't had a deadline looming over me for the first time in 7 years. I wonder how I used to spend my time in the past. If I want to be frank about how I currently feel, should I say it feels liberating? Tokyo Ghoul has been something that was intimately intertwined with my life, something that dominated my time and emotions, and something that changed my relationships with other people. There was good that came with it, but oftentimes there was more bad than good. Because of this, I felt like I was finally being released from a cage after being trapped in it for so long. But it's just a manga. There's no reason for you to be pressured so much by it. People may say with a laugh, but to me, manga has always been by my side as a huge obstacle. From the original Volume 7 onwards, my stance regarding the manga changed. I took on impossible amounts of work to try to push myself. I cast away all sorts of things from my life and poured all my time into work. I think it was because I was trying to get closer to Kaneki, who'd been subjected to torture. I've developed complications in my body. Again, that's just a short section of a multi-part afterword where they go into very deep detail about how they're feeling. And if you love their work, please, please, please show the respect to go read how they felt finishing it up. And hopefully they feel better now with their new manga, Chojin X, where they are not with Jump. They get to just release when and how they want. The 5 Stages of Grief. This is a breakdown of each of Kaneki's personas using the model of the 5 Stages of Grief. Each iteration of Kaneki represents a stage. We have black-haired Kaneki at the start, who denies that he has become a ghoul, so obviously he represents denial. White-haired Kaneki, post-torture, that represents anger. He lashes out at the world around him, doing whatever he has to do to gain strength. Heisei representing bargaining. After anger is burnt out, he finds a fake life that he can feel slipping at all times, just hoping that he can live happily, but not willing to accept the grief he has. Black Reaper Kaneki, representing depression. After the fake life completely slipped, he falls into a depression, deciding to save his old friends and end his life through his fight with Arima. Post-Dragon Kaneki represents acceptance. After realizing all the things that has happened to him has led him to where he is now, he can accept all the grief that he has experienced, since it resulted in him being in a place where he is happy and fulfilled with his wife and child. Tsukiyama family involved in politics. This is a theory on how the Tsukiyama got all its wealth, either by being on old money from owning businesses or probably being in high places politically. They're now a very large family of very, very wealthy ghouls that seems to spread out all over Tokyo and probably all over the world. Ishida Poetry Collection. There are many, many poems made by Ishida, even with music alongside them, that feel very close to things that would be written by some of the characters of TG, because it was written for these characters. These are very easy to find online. You should definitely go and read them, but I will read one out for you. Someone said this. Even if you have no memories of being loved, for as long as you have memories of loving someone, you can continue to live. But how is someone who has never been loved be capable of loving someone else? A child who wasn't able to receive the minimal love they required at the time they needed it the most will continue to gaze at the illusion of affection and never know how to love until the day they die. Well, how about me? Can I continue to love? I saw a corpse caught up in the wheels of a truck. It seems like the road was cluttered with spam. A cord that resembled a yellow spaghetti was popping out from its cross-section. I watched as its internal organs bloomed in such a grotesque manner. And then I thought to myself, God really doesn't exist after all. There's no way that a soul would dwell in such a hideous thing. I'm sure that those words will reach out to a huge amount of people, but it won't fall into a place where light cannot reach, just like the bottom of the sea. Similar to deep sea fishes, we grow sick and tired of seeing things, so our eyes too just degenerate completely. And because we die due to not being able to breathe on land, we cannot leave this place. We will continue to drift towards the bottom of the sea. There's no use scooping out in a colorless world. This is just what I think, but I wonder if poems and meanings exist just only to get dirtied. Trump cards. These are a set of playing cards illustrated by Ishida. There are a couple alternatives of each design and are now quite expensive, selling on eBay for up to $75. I've seen some $150. It kind of depends on the set you get, but just a bunch of beautiful art, really easy to find online to at least look at. Layer 5, CCG Archives. Chie works with Aogiri. Eto seems to take interest in Chie's photos. She can be seen examining them while taking a bath, and due to Chie's connection with the Tsukiyama family, maybe this is how Eto found out more about Kane to go manipulate them. Nazi references. This is a way deeper theory than I thought it would have ended up being, and that I can cover here. It can be found on a Tumblr post. It's very well written in maybe a bit of a meme-y coverage, but it all compares it to Marxist rhetoric. It's an interesting read. Go ahead and read it if you can. Cordyceps fungus. A biological theory on how the ghouls may work suggests parallels between ghouls, especially the dragon, and parasitic fungi like cordyceps. The idea is that transformation and control in Tokyo Ghoul can resemble this infection-based system from the cordyceps fungus, where something human is slowly overwritten by something else entirely. This is more of a late series interpretation, especially with how Dragon looks, but one that really fits the body horror themes and kind of reminds me of Last of Us. Furuta is suicidal. Furuta is often interpreted as a character who operates in extremes. Some fans believe his actions reflect a kind of self-destructive mentality. He repeatedly creates situations that could lead to his own downfall and even death. Whether intentional or not, his behavior consistently blurs the line between manipulation and self-erasure. His journey parallels Kaneki as someone else who desires to go out in a blaze of glory but doesn't make it through in the end. Toka joins a cult. The live-action Tokyo Ghoul star who played Toka, Shimizu Furunika, right after wrapping up filming for the movies, quit her career as an actress and joined the Science of Happiness cult. Happy Science worships a deity named El Cantarne, who they believe is the highest god of Earth and the lord of all the gods. They believe that this being was first born on the Earth 330 million years ago, and that is the same entity that has been worshipped at different times, like Jesus and all other iterations, with, of course, the current incarnation of this god being the cult leader himself. Just look at that smile. Penis Man. A short comedy manga made by Ishida that has some links to Tokyo Ghoul. We can see some returning characters, like an early version of Big Madam. And I did say short, but this manga reaches almost 100 chapters, and while it does stay very silly, it actually does get to a point of more serious topics, and is an interesting read if you can bring yourself to get through the first 10 chapters. We see various early forms of characters, including Toka, early mentions of a Washu-like family, Rize, Kaneki, and even Arima. It can be a really easy read in a couple hours. You can just feel the energy of Tokyo Ghoul from what should just be a silly little manga. Kaneki is an unreliable narrator. This is mostly speaking on events prior to when we first meet him in the story, as we see most of that through our own eyes, but specifically about his mother, who he built up in his head as this saint-like figure that was just so kind, but we later find that she was actually abusive. People theorize this unreliable storytelling could affect other parts of the story. Burning volumes. I'm not going to get too deep into this one, but similar to the reaction of Kaneki and Toka being together, a group of fans really did not take kindly to Mutsuki. Fans felt disrespected or offended about the use of gender identity in the story, and ended up writing Tokyo Ghoul off from that point forward, which we'll get into why they didn't like Mutsuki in a little bit. Layer 6. Washu/V. Kaneki's mom committed suicide. The idea that Kaneki's mother may have committed suicide, other than just the general idea that it's possible, comes from chapter 53 of Tokyo Ghoul Re, where Kaneki, as a child, says this to Heisei. He says, "I wanted to be an insect, like my mother too, but I failed to die." This is the reiteration that Kaneki did also want to die at the end of the original Tokyo Ghoul in his original fight with Arima. It's possible that he gets these ideas and just the general desire from his mother, who likely, if this happened, he was the one who came home and saw. Ryo is Shikure. Ryo was the main protagonist from the Tokyo Ghoul Jail video game, who then later makes an appearance in the Re manga. It wasn't first known that this was the same person, but the alternating Kagane hinted towards it until it was later confirmed. In jail, the player can choose what type of Kagane they play with, so Re decided to include a reference to being able to use all of them. Ishida livestream. In the past, Ishida was known to occasionally livestream him drawing. This was also one of the first times Ishida's voice was heard by fans. There's still some videos floating around in these streams that are now 10 years old. And they're, a decent watch, especially if you could understand the Japanese of it. But even if you just enjoy drawing, you get to see the beautiful Tokyo Ghoul characters coming to life. Yoshimura is alive. This is a fan theory that Yoshimura and Eto could be alive at the end of Re, since their deaths weren't necessarily shown. I personally think Eto is dead, but it's definitely possible that Yoshimura was kept alive, like Rize was, and then may have been able to escape the facility and run away, or something of that nature. But the manga showed every character, like, ever at the end of it, so I'd imagine Yoshimura is unfortunately probably dead. Hide is part of Washu. This is a pretty long-running theory of Hide, suggesting that he may have some kind of deeper connection to the Washu family. While there's no direct confirmation in the story, fans point to his unusual perception, his ability to navigate dangerous situations, and just putting himself in the ghoul world pretty consistently and putting himself in danger. This remains one of the weakest theories in my opinion, but we'll get into it a little deeper in the Iceberg that might make a little more sense. I personally just think he really loves our boy Kaneki. Paradise Lost. Eto often portrays herself through the lens of Paradise Lost. She aligns herself symbolically with Lucifer. In the manga, she openly frames herself in opposition to human society, and even references knowledge, rebellion, and fallen angel imagery. This has led many readers to view her as a deliberate literary parallel rather than just a character, although with her ending up being sort of a twist, not so bad but still crazy person. You know, there's something to be said about that, and it's really up to interpretation. Mutsuki raped Uta. This is definitely one of the heavily debated moments in the series, which involves Mutsuki and Uta during his disguise as Heisei. This scene sparked very strong reactions, as I had mentioned earlier in the Iceberg. A lot of criticism focused on how it was framed and what it represented narratively. Others really interpreted it differently, depending on how they read Uta's character, who's already portrayed as a very deeply detached and unsettled person. This definitely remains one of the more divisive story moments in Tokyo Ghoul, and is probably still discussed to this day. I know when I first read it, I went insane. I couldn't believe that, you know, they did a lot of bad things, but this one was really over the top. But it really showed a side of a character we didn't know was quite to that level. Layer 7. The Sunlit Garden. Hidden Message. In the original translations of the final chapter, the colored page with Toka had "Fuck Toka" written on the taxi. This is not a real hidden message, but actually a joke from the translators. There is a "See you next" on the taxi that is the real translation. This actually led people to believe that there was a sequel series. So, as you can imagine, a little bit of trolling when Ishida very clearly had his own ideas in mind. Torso's letter. In one of the extra sections, we get shown a letter that Torso wrote to Mutsuki. I will read it out to you now. How long has it been since splitting up with my previous lover? A lonely pillow is difficult to sleep on. If I'm not embraced by that kind of smooth flesh, it feels as though my mind will become very strange. For me, there is no way whatsoever to understand the hearts of humans. Why they are happy, angry, sad, I cannot imagine. How must I act so that they do not leave me? I fail to grasp. Since souls cannot be seen at any rate, speaking to people beside myself, I think of them as automated dolls, crammed with meat. Is it because I'm a ghoul? Or is it because I'm also abnormal among ghouls? I'm unable to acknowledge consciousness besides my own. In psychology, this seems to be called philosophical zombie. Zombies. Walking corpses. What I pursue might just be a zombie. Simply staying there, blankly, not going anywhere, quietly listening to me talk. Gentle zombie. Lover. Because I cannot comprehend mood and have no way to convey mood, so before I talk, I want to let her quietly be there, hearing me speak. My lovers up till now, although they haven't gone, can't go anywhere, but they surely would not accept me. Insults, pleading, sounds of shrieks let out from the head, a gaze of contempt at me. Just thinking back upon those makes one feel weary. At the end, I destroy the face. Then I use only the shadow of their remaining carcass to let myself obtain comfort. That pair of eyes, that delicate nose, that mouth, the tip of that brow, that smooth and round forehead. If she were to accept me, what kind of salvation would I get? At the moment, since the very beginning, I haven't need faces, because I know I would not be accepted by people. I cannot trust in people who have arms and legs. But now, I believe there's a maybe. Even if it's the me who deals with defects anyways. I too can genuinely love a person. Toru. I became arid and hot like so. This is a feeling not felt for a long time. Not only for a long time, perhaps it's a sight that has never been seen. She, as a ghoul investigator, has concealed many things. Firstly, is her own identity as a female. The eyelashes upon her pair of watery large eyes, the countless scars upon her bronze-colored flesh, and more. She and I have a kind of feeling of wonderful connection as one whole. She and I must be the same. There is no reason, but I know. The truth must be that way. The truth has no reason. It doesn't need one. If she and I could talk with each other, well, it would surely be conveyed to her. Because I've masturbated, thinking of you, countless times. I want to touch you. You're already split open, worn thin places. Only in the scarred parts will be closer than 1 millimeter. Obviously a terrifying read. This is very similar to Ishida's poems from earlier. If you go and read some of the other ones, they also have some really scary bits. It's just intense. This is the perfect kind of poetry, in my opinion, and gives a little more insight into a character that met their demise at the hands of Mutsuki. Helter Skelter. The term Helter Skelter appears in connection with Itori's bar, and is also echoed in visual motifs and repeated phrases in the ending artwork of Route A. The phrase itself carries historical and cultural weight, if you know about the race wars here in America. It's often associated with chaos, collapse, and social breakdown. Within Tokyo Ghoul, fans interpret it as another layer of the clown's theme, disorder, and destruction. They just want to cause as much chaos as possible. This also ties back to the Tokyo Ghoul being a racial image. Kaneki was raped. Another popular theory that Jason sexually assaulted Kaneki during his torture. There is a large focus on the fact that Jason is a homosexual. His last victim has very clear genital mutilation. Kaneki's clothes do randomly get changed during his torture, which obviously could be nothing, but it does show that at one point he was naked. His new clothes have the button undone, the shirt torn around that area, the pants kind of fray. The cut on his Achilles, so Kaneki is chained to a chair. There's no real reason to cut this part of the body. It's historically known it doesn't actually hurt much at all. It's nothing compared to the torture of his fingers and stuff. So the idea is that this was done so he couldn't move when he was being removed from the chair for the raping. Much later in the series, Heisei has an RC scan. So where the body is damaged, RC cells are much more prevalent in that area when they heal and they get stronger. Around his pelvis and thighs, there's a very insane amount of RC cells, almost a similar amount to where his actual Kagane comes from, which is generally where it's the most dense. At the very least, all of this shows that the torture that Kaneki endured for those 10 days may have been way, way worse than we even know, and would probably go well with all the themes we've seen throughout the entire thing. Kaneki died in Dragon. Here it is, the classic, he was dead the whole time. To be fair, there's some interesting evidence. To me, it's a normal fan theory that you could put in almost any media. Supporting evidence is the sudden change of pace after Kaneki is saved from the dragon fluid, but I personally think this is just an anime wrapping up or a manga wrapping up. I've read a billion stories that, you know, they have this big tragic ending, and then one chapter later it's all sunshine and rainbows because time has passed and everything feels different, kind of thing. So I don't give this theory any credence. I don't think Ishida would even imagine this. Hide is evil. This comes from the fact that, while presumably being a normal human, he outsmarts ghouls and CCG investigators with relative ease. Either he has other motives, some sort of information that we're not told, something like that. I think this theory is largely debunked at this point. There are still some believers that have a headcanon of some deeper plot, maybe even that Hide was an experiment gone right from the Sunlit Garden, maybe an alternative to Arima, just a human version that they send out into the world. But at this point, it's mostly debunked. Most people believe this before he was re-revealed in the re-manga. So, and here we are, the most mysterious and unknown piece of Tokyo Ghoul trivia. The Tokyo Ghoul anime reboot. This is obviously a joke in reference to the numerous petitions, complaints, Reddit comments, Reddit posts, just everywhere that demand a remake of the series, especially because of season 2. Some still believe that a remake is in the works, and I swear we get a confirmation every other week that ends up being a fake, of course. Obviously, I want a reboot, but I don't want to bother Ishida. They're working very hard on their new manga, Chojin X, which everybody should go check out. It's fantastic so far. I've only read a small part of it. I don't think we're going to see an anime reboot, and even if we do, I don't think Ishida would have their hands on it, and I think that would cause issues. So, and with that, we've reached the bottom of the Tokyo Ghoul Iceberg. This is my first time trying this format. I hope everybody enjoyed. If you did enjoy, please consider subscribing, liking the video, leaving a comment. If there's another Iceberg you'd like me to see cover, let me know. This is a lot of fun to create, a lot more fun than I actually thought it would be. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you next time.